Hi everyone, I am Kayla and I'm going to be introducing my article, which is Studies Suggest It's Good Business to Hire Women Over Men, and here's why. So, Entrepreneur.com actually released this article earlier this year to kind of discuss the discrimination and inequality that goes along with gender studies in relation to the business workforce environment. And so it says here for the first sentence that it is clear that the glass ceiling exists and women face discrimination that hinder the advancement compared to men, despite having similar qualifications, skills, and experience. And so essentially what this article goes into is multiple different kind of studies that do relate to how women have been more successful than men in the workforce. However, we are still relating to the stereotypes that society has created for us today in terms of having men be more successful even though they are equally or even less qualified than women. And so as we go into this article, we first talk about how the first study was he went to 20 different Fortune 500 companies and they discussed women and men employees. And so essentially what it stated was how women actually performed equal or not better than men in these Fortune 500 companies, but they still saw, like, statistically, that they were still hiring men more often than women. And so as we go into the next portion, we go in through 138 executives, and half are men and half are women. And like I said before, even though 50-50 split equally, it still says that women were kind of related to more barriers and to more discrimination, microaggressions than men were in the workforce. And so the last one that talks about where there was a study that was done by Harvard Business Review, HBR, and essentially it was just, it interviewed 1,000 MBA grad students. And so what it talks about was same thing, how women were less likely to be hired out of the MBA program than men were. And they still received these different microaggressions or discrimination that occurred in the workforce, even though they were just as equally qualified as their peers in their program. And so as we go through the remainder of the article, it essentially just states how women do bring more business than men, more likely. Recently, especially with everything going on with gender inequality and things like that, technically we want to create a team, as what they say. Obviously, yes, it has women and men, but hiring more women actually creates a more positive and inclusive environment that really strikes for diversity and inclusion, which is another popular topic that has been going on in the workforce environment recently, in relation to racial minorities and things like that, not just having to deal with gender, but really just talking about how women are more profitable than men. And so it states how men are more successful in the terms that they reach to success faster, kind of relating to getting more comfortable with the environment faster. However, even though women do take longer, in a long term of time, they actually are more successful. And essentially that is because of multitasking. And so men are essentially task driven, and women are emotionally driven. But with that being said, they want to include everyone, which brings in a better environment, which creates a better team, which includes obviously multitasking and all of that. And so essentially that is the whole reason as to why it is greater business to hire women over men.